Welcome to insightcrime.org. I'm Deborah Bonello, managing editor, and I'm speaking to Jerry McDermott, one of the co-directors of Insight Crime. Jerry, we've seen an escalation of the US military presence in the Caribbean in recent weeks, culminating in, of course, a US missile strike on a speedboat last week that killed 11 people. And now we're seeing fighter jets sent to Puerto Rico. American officials are framing this as an anti-narcotics push, and the media is reporting that both Venezuela's Cartel of the Suns and Tren de Aragua are in the crosshairs. But Jerry, first off, what do we know about the boat that got blown up on September 2nd?
Okay, you've touched an enormous range of things there. So let's drill down and let's pick apart some of this, and let's start with the go fast. There are several questions there, or uncertainties for us who follow this sort of stuff day in, day out. We've been speaking to the Venezuela team who've been looking at this from in country. First question, or first uncertainty is, go fast boats are crewed usually by 2 to 3 people. There might be a fourth if they think there's a chance they're going to get hijacked. And so the crew will be heavily armed. But for the most part, it's 2 or 3 guys. You don't put 11 people on a go fast boat. So this raises a strange question initially. The second is, from what we know, it seems that the boat left San Juan do Henare, which is Sucre. It's the state just opposite Trinidad and Tobago. This isn't a traditional departure point for go fasts. Let me explain really quickly what the dynamics are on that. Go fasts tend to be heading north, streaking through the Caribbean. Their principal stop point is the Dominican Republic, where they then go on to the US market in a variety of different ways. And the departure points for this are La Guajira, which is the peninsula that juts out of Colombia and forms the border with Venezuela. And then there's another peninsula in Venezuela called Falcon, which juts into the Caribbean. And these tend to be where the boats streak across the Caribbean. But where we're talking about is right towards the east, almost facing us across from Africa. Now, if the drugs are going to West Africa, and usually that's a trip to Europe, then yeah, that might be a launch point. The other that might happen, we've seen, is the go fast may bounce up some of the archipelago of islands from Trinidad that go all the way up to Jamaica, etc. But these tend to be for the European market because there's a lot of European overseas territories on the way. I'm thinking of Martinique, French territory, Saint Martin, their Dutch equivalent, the Dutch islands. And the drug traffickers tend to use these as launch pads towards Europe, and they use the regular tourist flights, they'll use the containers, they'll even use yachts that tend to go across the Atlantic. So this doesn't seem like a likely departure point for a go fast number one. This seems a strange go fast because it's got all these people on board. And this isn't a traditional launch pad for the United States. So a lot of questions. I'm afraid I don't have any answers on that one. Right.
Another part of the reporting, another big element of the reporting around this bombing was the presence of Tren de Aragua members on the boat, as well as framing from the US that this is part of an anti-narcotics push against the Cartel of the Suns. What can you tell us, Jerry, about the Cartel of the Suns and Tren de Aragua and how they fit or don't fit into what we're seeing coming out of the US?
The US, in using the term Cartel of the Suns, and there's an indictment which uses the Cartel of the Suns, which targets Nicolás Maduro, the president, and Diosdado Cabello, the kind of regime number 2. And it suggests that the Cartel of the Suns is a traditional vertically integrated drug trafficking organization. We don't think it is. We think that Maduro has created a hybrid criminal organization. And let me explain that. It sounds really complicated. What it essentially is, Maduro needs criminal rents to maintain himself in power, because due to economic sanctions, the fact he can't sell his oil, the fact his oil production has declined, he can't balance the books anymore. And this is part of the collapse we've seen in Venezuela. It's not only been an economic collapse, but the health system and the education system have collapsed as well, which is what's been pushing people abroad. But he needs to keep the loyalty of the senior politicians, the Chavista figures, and perhaps more important, his generals. And he can't do that from a central system of patronage because he doesn't have any money. So what he's done, and you and I are European, so we kind of understand this perhaps better than many, he's created a feudal system where he sits at the top of this, and he's created a series of fiefdoms, criminal fiefdoms, where he turns around to a general and he goes, listen, I haven't got any money to pay you, and your monthly salary is all of $30. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give you a posting by the Colombian border, where we both know there's an enormous amount of drug trafficking and human smuggling across the border, and you're going to get paid wedges of cash. And you, Chavista politician, I'm going to put you in Bolivar where there's a gold mine. And you are going to be able to rake cash from this gold mine. So they all go, okay, I'm loyal now to you, Maduro, and the regime. And so this is the system he's created, not a vertically integrated drug trafficking organization, but this criminal hybrid governance. Now, yes, Venezuela is playing an increasingly active and important role in the drug trade. And I do believe that Maduro, in a way, is regulating all of this because he wants to get as much money from the criminal rents as he possibly can. Let's flip to your second question, Tren de Aragua. And according to the US statement, the 11 on the boat were Tren de Aragua. This is extremely unlikely. And the reason for that is that we've been following Tren de Aragua for 15 years, since its formation, even kind of before its official launch. But we've been tracking the Venezuelan prisons, which is from when Tren de Aragua was born. They have, up till now, not been linked with a single multi-ton shipment going across borders. They make their money from human smuggling and human trafficking. And this is one of the few groups in Latin America that went transnational, not through the drug trade, but through human trafficking and human smuggling, following the up to 8 million Venezuelans who fled the country. And Tren de Aragua preyed on them every step of their journey. And then when they settled, they continued to prey on them, extortion as well. They did get involved in micro trafficking. That's the retail sale of drugs. But drug smuggling, up till now, we have not heard of a single case. They do work as subcontracted labor for some Colombian drug trafficking organizations, but they themselves, we've not seen it. So again, another huge question on the targeting of this particular go fast.
And does Tren de Aragua, even if it is sort of not active in transnational drug smuggling, what is its relationship with the Maduro regime?
Historically, Tren de Aragua, when it was based out of a prison, it was based out of the prison of Tocorón, where it was born, and which acted as its operational center and headquarters. And essentially, this prison was given the Tren de Aragua. And this became a criminal fiefdom in itself. No one messed with Niño Guerrero, alias Niño Guerrero, who's the head of Tren de Aragua and who was the pran or leader of this prison. And so up until 2023, Tren de Aragua did receive state support because it was given this prison, it was allowed to run the prison, it was allowed to run its criminal organizations from it. But in 2023, the state retook control of the prison. It sent 11,000 troops to retake its own prison. And And this was a moment where the patronage and the official links between Tren de Aragua and the government were broken. And from being a state-tolerated criminal organization as part of this hybrid criminal regime we've talked about, it became a public enemy. And so today, first of all, Tren de Aragua does not exist also as a centrally coordinated organization because it's lost its base. All its leaders have spread and fragmented. It's lost its coherence. But secondly, there's no way that Maduro is running it because nobody's running it, let alone Maduro. Could elements of Tren de Aragua be subcontracted by other criminal enterprises, including those linked to the state? Yeah, for sure. But is this a criminal organization at the beck and call of Nicolás Maduro? It's not.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting to sort of understand and unpack a little bit more what those connections are. And I'm curious, final question, Jerry, do you think the kind of military action that we're seeing in the Southern Caribbean by the US right now is going to stop drug trafficking? Or is there a bigger plan behind this? What's your view?
I'm not going to talk about the US bigger plan because I cannot predict what the Trump administration is going to do and wouldn't dare to attempt to do so. But I can talk about the way it's going to shift or not shift drug trafficking. In the short term, I don't think any drug traffickers are going to be launching go-fasts into the Caribbean at the moment. And also, there are all these warships. They've all got radar. They can all track maritime and indeed aircraft passing over. So I think that route is temporarily shut. What we've also seen from Venezuela is they have been launching lots of anti-narcotics operations to show that they are serious about the drug trade. I suspect, and some hints from the ground are, that even those drug trafficking organizations that operate with the blessing of the Maduro regime have been told to stop. And so I think that the movement of drugs through Venezuela is in a freeze at the moment. Everything will be stashed. I don't think there'll be any new orders from Colombia, or if there are new orders, they will be passing through the south of Venezuela along the Orinoco River, and they'll be going into Guyana, Suriname, and Brazil, where I do suspect there's going to be a significant increase now in drug trafficking. Or within Colombia, the guys that have been shifting cocaine into Venezuela may move it directly up to the Caribbean coast, or maybe even move it across the country and put it through the Pacific. So there's going to be an interruption. There is an interruption to drug smuggling from Venezuela's north coast, the Caribbean coast, for sure. However, the US can't afford to keep this task force in place indefinitely. Or if it does, then maybe there will be some sort of long term, but it's not going to interrupt the flow, the production and flow of drugs. All it is going to do is shift the routes that the traffickers use to either reach the US or go across to Europe and other markets.
Yeah, it's definitely one to watch, isn't it? And it will be interesting to see what transpires over the next weeks and maybe months in the Caribbean. Jerry, thanks very much for your time. And for those watching, you can go to insightcrime.org's archive for very in-depth reporting and investigations into all of the issues and criminal organizations we've talked about today. Until the next time, thanks very much.